You wouldn't build a house without a foundation, so why try to build a business without one? Grow your contracting business and grow your mind with Growth Mindset Monday.
Welcome back to the show. It's another beautiful Monday across the U.S. of A. Welcome back to Mindset Monday. You guys know the drill. If you're here with us live, go ahead and drop your name, your business name, and where you're from so we can give you a shout out. Now, I don't know if we should give Groundhog a shout out. He was technically number one, although I think he posted this yesterday. So we won't give him that. We've got the Irvin Corporation. Good morning from Richmond, Texas. Good morning and welcome to the show. Man, this weekend was such a crazy weekend. I'm going to share that with you guys here in a second. You'll get a little laugh out of it, but hopefully there'll be a lesson that comes from it as well. Heaven knows there was for me. We got Bo Flanders. Hello from the great state of Alabama. I got to know, Bo. Roll Tide or War Eagle? Where are we at? We got Richard Tooley, Focus Handyman from Kansas City, Missouri or Kansas? I always thought there was one Kansas City, but apparently there's more than one. Every day learning something new. Well, I'll jump into things. It's kind of funny having been a contractor, still kind of remotely working on some fix and flips and consulting with hundreds of contractors over the years. You would think that once you learn a lesson, it gets added to your bag and then you never have to learn it again, right? That's the way it's supposed to work anyway. But unfortunately, it's not the way it always works. Sometimes you learn a lesson and it applies or sticks for 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, and then you got to learn it again. And that was this weekend for me. We recently purchased a home, and I have this weird thing where I love where I live, except I want to make it my own. And it doesn't help that my wife is like insane when it comes to thinking up really cool ideas of things to do. So when we bought this house a few weeks ago, she said, I want to build a fireplace. And I was like, okay, cool. Fireplaces are nice. What are you thinking? Well, she shows me a picture. And in the picture, it shows a fireplace from floor to ceiling. It's about 6 feet wide, about 8 inches deep. It's got an electric fireplace, a mantle, TV on top. No big deal, right? I was like, hey, that looks really cool. Where do you want to put that? She's like, I want to put it in the living room. And then I stopped because our living room has 18-foot ceilings. And I was like, are you sure? She said, yes, I'm sure. I was like, all right. So I called a couple clients of mine, a couple buddies, said, hey, this is what we're looking to build. And Tyler came over and got it going for me. But Tyler's like, hey, you're going to have to paint it on your own. I was like, no, I'm going to hire somebody to paint it for me. So I find a guy that comes recommended from a friend of mine. He's like, yeah, I can be there, this last weekend. Well, he calls this Friday night and says, hey, I'm not going to be able to make it. Well, we needed to get it done by today because Tyler's coming to install the mantle, install the TV, all the electronics, the sound bar, all that good stuff is getting installed. So it needed to be done. Well, I pulled on my big boy pants and said, I can get this done. I can do this. For the sake of the timeline. And so I did. I'm going to pause and welcome the new guys to the show. And then I'll continue with my story. We've got Edward Schwartz, ES Handy Services from Florida. Kevin Rilla build everything around us from the Lou, St. Louis, and Bo Flanders, Bo Jiffy HVAC. Welcome to the show. Richard Tooley, Kansas, but a suburb. All right, all right. So Friday night, I go to the Home Depot. Why? Because I don't have these supplies. I mean, at every house that we've worked on, I've rented the supplies. Never had a necessity to own my own. I don't do it with that much frequency. So I go down to Home Depot and I say, okay, I can get a ladder, but there's a whole lot of moving with the ladder and then up and down and all that fun stuff. Or I can do something I've never done. I'm going to rent scaffolding. Now, I don't know if any of you guys have ever used scaffolding. It's kind of an interesting game, right? It looks solid. It feels solid until you get on top of it and you're 12 to 15 feet up in the air and realize that there's some movement going on. And so I'm 15 feet up in the air trying to get this thing together. And there's some, I guess, guard railing. I don't know what you call it. Or I can't think of it because I went to bed about 2:30 this morning. But there's some railing that goes on, right? And I tried to put it on, but we were missing a couple things. We were missing some pins because I was like, man, if I lean on this thing, it's going and I'm going too. So I have to go back to Home Depot. And they're like, oh, yeah, well, here's some pins. We'll take it out of another unit. So I feel sorry for the guy that got the other unit. Get that. Get everything set up, right? And then, as you guys know, especially you painters or anybody that does any painting or has done any painting in the past, the hardest part of painting is not painting. It's the arduous task of taping and caulking and making sure everything's covered so that when you paint, only the thing that you want painted gets painted. So we spent the next, 12 hours or so. We had that, and then we built a built-in bench in our breakfast nook as well. But the next 12 hours, just taping and priming and painting and everything, right? So come Sunday morning, right? Got everything ready to go. It's about 10 o'clock. I'm like, all right, let's roll. We're going to paint this thing. Of course, I don't have a sprayer. So what do? That's right, the Home Depot. And I rent one of their commercial spray guns. And I'm like, talk to the guy. He's like, yeah, this has a really fine spray. It should go quick, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, great, awesome. So I get the spray gun out and I follow all the instructions, right? Make sure the lines are clear. Then I prime it. Then I make sure the nozzle's facing the right direction for horizontal versus vertical. And I hit the trigger. And for about 2 seconds, it was like this paint sprayer threw up. Not a steady stream, not a fine mist. It threw up all over my walls and then died. There was nothing else coming out. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Right over not just the area that I needed to paint, the fireplace, but over the walls on the side too. Like literally went everywhere. So I cleaned it up as best I could. And then reprimed, got everything ready. And I said, okay, let's do it again. Do it again. Same thing, but worse. Onto the windows, onto the blinds, on the side, like literally shot out like 15 feet. It was crazy. And I'm like, something's wrong here. Well, my wife's pissed at me because now I'm making a ginormous mess in my house. I'm pissed because this thing isn't working. And now Sunday I'm spending working instead of doing what I like to do, which is hang out with the family and relax. So I clean everything up, take it down to Home Depot, say, hey man, this thing ain't working. And he's like, oh, well, let me see. And he looks at the nozzle and he's like, unscrews the nozzle itself. And he's like, oh, well, you're missing this pin. And I was like, you rented it to me. Like, this is your fault, not mine. So he's like, do you want to rent another one? I was like, no, I don't want to rent another one because the same thing's going to happen. So I go down to the paint section. I buy a $300 Graco paint sprayer, right? An electric paint sprayer. And thank goodness that thing worked because otherwise, who knows what would happen. But the paint that we got, of course, a little nicer paint. So Sherwin-Williams paint, 4 hours between coats, right? So I finish up painting about 12:30 this morning, get to bed about 2:30 this morning, just with all the cleanup and everything else that's happening. And this was an all-day thing, right? All-day thing for 2 days. Now, am I happy I got it done? Yes, totally happy I got it done. But during that time, I can't even tell you how many thoughts ran through my head of like, I'm just going to tear this whole thing down and then never have to deal with it again, right? Or I'm going to go down to Home Depot and I'm going to bury some bodies. Like, this is ridiculous. Issues with the scaffolding, issues with the sprayer, issues with the paint, issues with this, issues with that, issues. And I got Richie in the comments says, why didn't you do a test surface? Hey, you know what, Richie? You're a smart guy. So Yes, I should have done a tested a surface, a test surface. You're 100% right. But again, right? The guy who's like, hey, I've done this the exact way that it needs to be done. It should work, right? Didn't work. And we'll get to that. I appreciate you bringing that up. We got a few more people signing in, so I'll shout them out. We got Matt Bowen with Start to Finish from South Georgia. Jeremy Ray, Denali Home Services. I think is MN Minnesota or is that Maine? Not really sure. RMS, so Russell Mobile Services out of Little Rock. We got Jitterbug Home Services, JHS in Central Florida. Daniel Kappen, Noble Custom Glass and Mirror from Buford, Georgia. All right, appreciate you guys all being here. So back to the story. Jeremy says Minnesota. Glad I got that right. Halfway anyway. So as I'm wrapping this stuff up, I'm thinking about this, right? And I'm thinking about the lessons. There's way more than one lesson inside of here. Trust me. The first one for me, though, is persistence, right? Because you got to think about this. How many times does your day go exactly the way that you want it to go? People answer their text messages and their phone calls, right? Your email inbox is at 0. You get your estimates out on time. All your people show up. Your project gets done in the timely manner. People are paying their bills. The truck's working. Like, we could go on and on about the way that we want life to work, the way that we want business to work, even the way that we expect it to work. But does it ever actually work the way it's supposed to? No, like hardly ever. Think about the last time a day went exactly the way it was supposed to. Even me this morning, right? I got a little less sleep, sure, but thank the good Lord for caffeine. I got a little less sleep at 8 o'clock. I had an 8 o'clock meeting, like, let's roll. Well, guess what? 8 o'clock meeting didn't show. So now I've got an entire hour. Okay, what am I going to do with that? Right? Then I go outside so the dog can do his duties and realize that they're shutting off the road so they can resurface, repave, whatever. And my truck is stuck and I got to take off here in a couple hours. So I have to go drive my truck down and around the corner to the school. So I'm outside of the construction zone. It's like life is just going to happen. Right? And so throughout this thing, I'm realizing and remembering these lessons that I've learned multiple times over my life. The biggest one being this idea of persistence. Now, it sounds really cool. I was going to get a shirt made that says persistence, right? But I don't think we really understand what persistence means. We really don't. Because persistence for us is, and I'm talking to the guys. Obviously, I'm a dude, so I'm going to talk to the guys. Ladies, you can laugh about this. Persistence is when a guy says, I really want to get laid. And he does everything in his power to get laid. Flowers, massages, makes dinner, cleans up the house, takes the kids to school or the park, that, with the end game that he wants to get laid. Persistence. Congratulations, man. You're persistent, at least in one aspect of your life. But then we got to look at every other aspect of life, right? Especially business. And if I was to ask you, how persistent are you inside of your business? What would your answer be? Seriously, how persistent are you? Persistent are you? Scale of 1 to 10. You can drop it in the comments. If you're manly enough or ballsy enough to throw it out there, how persistent are you? And what I realized over this weekend is I had lost my persistence. I mean, I used to be like level 9 persistent with everything in life. Stay up late, get up early, like go, doing 75 hard, like working out every day, Like I was on top of things. And I'll be honest, my persistence level has probably dropped, I'm going to say, to a level 5. Now that's kind of hard for me to say that I'm like average persistent right now. Now, some of you might have a different level or understanding of persistent, and it's up to you anyway. But what's your level of persistence? Mine's a 5. Why? Because I work out every day of the week and then I eat whatever the hell I want to every weekend, which nullifies all the work I did during the week, all of it. Like come Friday night, I'm like, all right. The abs starting to come in, feeling pretty good. Come Saturday morning, it's some kind of sweet from some kind of bakery. And then it just goes downhill from there, right? And then Sunday night, I'm feeling bad about myself, then back on the bandwagon on Monday. That's not persistent, right? I talk about business. Like my buddy from Texas has a hat and it says, call the damn leads. Like that's what the hat says, call the damn leads, right? And I can tell you that over the last week, there's probably been, 13 leads that come in. I've initially either texted or reached out to them, but follow-up, man, my follow-up's been horrible. Persistence, right? Now, maybe we should define persistence. And Irvin, I appreciate you sharing. You say it's in the middle. I have my lazy days. Yeah, man. Yeah, we all do. Appreciate you being honest with that. Well, what is persistence, right? I looked it up. Thank goodness for the good old internet. Persistence. There are two words inside of there that I had to go do some further digging. The first answer said obstinate continuance. Obstinate continuance. And I was like, what the hell is obstinate? You ever been called obstinate? I never have. So I had to look it up. You know what obstinate means? Stubborn. Stubborn. Have you ever been called stubborn? Well, I sure as hell have. The problem is that most of the time when I'm called stubborn, it's over something bad. Like when I fight with my wife, right? Stubborn a-hole. That's me. I've been there, right? So stubborn. Now imagine if you were stubborn. So stubborn in a course of action in spite of difficulty or opposition. Stubborn continuance. Stubborn continuance in a course of action in spite of difficulty or opposition. Interesting, right? We think persistence is just going. You just keep going. That's what persistence is. You got to walk, so you just keep walking. No, it's stubborn continuance, but then that second part, in spite of difficulty or opposition. Crazy, right? And it had me start thinking, like, I get it. We all have a little bit of stubbornness in us. We wouldn't be business owners if we didn't, right? So we're stubborn by nature, but what are we stubborn about? And it got me thinking this morning. So I was thinking, okay, if you were to ask yourself, and I know it's Monday, but let's say Friday, right? What happened on Friday? Appointments, jobs, follow-up, bids, like what happened on Friday? A lot of you would probably say that, you know what? I was pretty busy on Friday. I was pretty busy. And it feels good to be busy, right? Because someone asks you, hey, what did you get done this week? Oh man, I got a lot done. Oh yeah? Well, then what did you get done? And when you start thinking about it, you realize there's a difference between being busy and being productive. Being busy and being productive. Now, again, I'll fall on the sword first. If you were to look at my weekend, was my weekend productive? On the surface, you would have been like, yeah, it was. Maybe it didn't work out exactly how you wanted it to, and maybe you should never paint again in your life. But yeah, you got some stuff done. Congratulations, right? Here's the crazy part. It was actually me being busy, because productive me is either spending time on his business or time with his family. These other things, when I was younger in life, sure, it was great to get out there and, get the hands dirty. I still got paint on my hands and under my nails. Yes, I took a shower. But it feels good to be busy, right? And sometimes you just have to be busy because you don't have money and you don't have time or whatever. But you get to a point where you shouldn't be busy anymore. You should be more productive. Crazy, right? I could have waited. I could have pushed my finished carpenter off. Sure. Couple days. In the grand scheme of things, big deal? No. But I was stubborn, again, in the wrong way, and said, I got to get this done so he can come in and get his stuff done. And instead, I could have spent time with my family. But because of all the things going wrong, what happened? I got pissed at my wife. My son was cranky and tired and whatever, because he's a teenager, right? And so it led to more anxiety and fighting than anything else. Now, during the week, would it have made sense for me to do it? Absolutely not. Why? Because an hour of my time is worth a minimum of $500. And so if I were to spend 2 days painting, I mean, let's just say 8 hours a day, right? That's $8,000. That doesn't cost, if I would have hired somebody, that would have been, I don't know, $1,200, maybe $1,400 to paint. Definitely not worth my time, right? But again, the champion, pat myself on the back, I was busy, right? But busy or productive. I want to touch base on your guys' schedule for a little bit. It's cool to talk about me. Sure, I talk about myself all the time, right? But this isn't about me. These are just examples for you guys. I want to be able for you guys to internalize it. We got Irving says, yes, when I used to be a salesperson for Coke, we were pushed in trying to make the numbers. Yep, always, man. Sales position, always push, 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 right? Daniel says it's when 4 builders say no, but you're persistent, and the 5th one says yes. Yes, that's a great example. Great example, right? The fortunes in the follow-up. Love it. So let's talk about your schedule, right? I want you to take a second. If you're driving, don't do this. But if you're in front of a computer, you're at a job site, I want you to look at your schedule for the week. And I want you to answer the question: how productive am I set up right now to be this week? How productive? Notice I didn't say how busy are you this week. I said how productive. There's a difference. See, when I look at my schedule, the first question I always ask, is this a busy thing or is this a productive thing? You know, I've got a podcast that I run, I guess it's a YouTube show podcast called Success Unleashed. And inside of that, I interview successful contractors, right? Now, the ego says, hey, just interview people with a following, interview, people who know people, like that kind of stuff. But that's not productive. That's just busy work, right? I'm interviewing very specific people who have something to speak or share or an insight to give to contractors. That's it. So I got to make sure that the guests that I'm bringing on, I'm recording 4 episodes this afternoon, that the guests that I'm bringing on are guests that people want to listen to, that people will get value out of, not just somebody to fill some empty airtime. So what does your week look like? More busy or more productive? What would you say? And while you guys are coming up with your answer, thinking about that or looking at your schedule, I want to remind you guys about something. Every Monday we have, you got it, Mindset Monday. Well, we send out a little message reminder, but the easiest thing for you to do is if you know that every Monday we're going live at 1:00 Eastern, right? And you're serious about growing your contracting biz, hit that notification bell. Yeah, if you hit the notification bell, you automatically get reminded when it is that we go live. So go ahead and hit that notification bell. Bing, bing. Just making up sounds now. You like that, huh, Justin? We're making up sounds now. So go ahead and hit that notification bell. All right. Jim says, none of the above, need to go out and generate more work. Okay. Fernando says, this week busy is all because of the fact that I haven't had a truck for a week and a half. Oh, yeah, that'll do it for you. But again, challenge for the both of you. Your tasks for the week can be busy or they can be productive. So Fernando, you might be busy, i.e. your schedule's busy, but is it productive work? In other words, is it either bringing in more dollars or is it helping you complete work or is it helping you collect work, right? Productive work. Jim, same thing for you. Hey, guess what? We all need more leads. We all need more work. But what are we doing to get more work? Sitting in front of the computer, scrolling through social media. Busy? Yes. Productive? No. Edward says, this week will be productive. Lots of jobs lined up. All right. And then Matthew says, our primary company inspections is definitely maximizing in productivity. However, a septic excavation company is definitely lacking. Man, huge insight, Matthew, right? But now it's your job to look at it and say, okay, maybe we're not as productive as we need to be, but what do we need to do to make it more productive? Is it on the lead side? Is it on the sales side? Is it on the production side? Or is it on the follow-up side? Where is it? Oh, Christina is on her husband's account. So don't take it personal if I call you Fernando. Yes, 100%. Okay, so what is it that we can do? Okay, now there's a book that I highly recommend you read. In fact, every new client that we bring on board, we give them this book. It's by a gentleman by the name of Gary Keller. Gary Keller wrote a book called The One Thing. Now, if you're not familiar with Gary Keller, he's the one that started Keller Williams Realty, one of the largest realty brokerages in the country. Now, Gary wrote this book called The One Thing, and it focuses on exactly what the title says, the one thing. Here's the premise of the book. He says, 20% of your activities will generate 80% of your results, right? 20% of your activities will generate 80% of your results. Your job is to focus on those 20% of activities, right? Now, inside of that, it's not 20 things that need to get done. Inside of that, it's every single day identifying one thing that by getting it done, there we go, one thing that by getting it done will dramatically increase your odds of success. Not survival, but success, right? So if you were to identify one thing today that needs to get done, that by doing this thing will dramatically increase the likelihood of you succeeding, what is it? Now, I'll tell you what mine is. Kind of funny. Sometimes it has to do directly in the business. Sometimes it's indirect. Well, we've been in negotiation for the last, 7 weeks for this office space. Now, inside of this office space, it's about 3,000 square feet. We're going to be able to host workshops and seminars and conferences, all kinds of fun stuff. We have private offices. We have a conference room. We're going to build out a recording studio so we can audio and video record. And by the way, it's all for contractors. It's going to be amazing. Don't worry, you guys are all invited. But it's going to be really cool. Well, inside of that, I got to get that that contract signed today. Got to get it signed. Why? Because I have a big event coming up October 3rd and 4th, right? We're inviting 7-figure contractors from across the country for a 2-day workshop. I got to get it done. Well, I got to get the contract signed so that I can get my guys in there so that I can get the work done, right? So that we can open up. So that's my one thing for today. My one thing. Right? What is your one thing today? I have all kinds of other things to get done. All kinds of other things, right? And you can see on the screen, if Justin, you mind putting that back up again? You can see on the screen, it says success is built sequentially. All sequentially means is one thing at a time. So you think about it like dominoes. It's not the big domino that falls over. It's the little domino first. So if you think for me, the big domino is moving into the office. The little domino is what's the first thing that has to happen? Well, I got to get that contract signed. Concrete, apparently. I really want to say concrete. So I got to get that contract signed. The next thing is I actually have to get my subcontractor agreement signed. Why? Because I'm going to have people who are renting out space inside of my office. I literally have 5 offices. I don't need them all. So I got to get that taken care of and that signed. Why? Because they're going to be contributing to that down payment deposit as well. So little things, but it's always one thing. Right? Don't focus on the big domino. Focus on the little thing that needs to get done. Now, I want you guys to start thinking this week, right? For some of you, it's the next lead. For some of you, it's the next job. For some of you, it's the next hire. For some of you, it's the next collection. What is the one thing that you have to get done this week, right? That by getting this thing done, and it doesn't have to be something major, but what's the one thing that needs to get done so that by getting it done starts to propel you forward so you can start to knock down bigger and bigger dominoes. All right, Christina says, cut the huge grass at the commercial contracts so I don't lose them. Oh yeah, that's a good one, right? We don't want to lose our clients. So that's the one thing. So what needs to happen? Now, everything that you focus on today is, what do I need? Do I need more people? Do I need more equipment? What do I need to be able to get this done? Right? And everything that you do right now focuses on that one thing. But guess what? Then there's follow-up to that. What do we need to do to make them happy in the longer term? Right? I don't know. We got to dig into that. So to kind of wrap things up today, okay? A couple things. Number 1, persistence, right? I shared a little story with you about being persistent. We all need a little persistence in our lives, but we need the right kind of persistence, right? What do we define persistence as? Obstinance, i.e. being stubborn, right? So stubborn continuance in an action or a course of action in spite of what? Difficulty or opposition. Your truck might break down. Somebody might not show up for work. Matt says, I got to find people that want to work, right? Like you're always going to have something, but that stubbornness, right? That persistence is what will carry you through. Your business will have issues till the day you sell it. And then probably afterwards, but they're not your issues anymore. Your business will have issues. Your job is to become an expert at being persistent in the things that need to get done every single day, day in and day out. All right. Last reminder. my bell again. Ding, ding. Again, we go live every Monday at 1:00 Eastern. We really want you guys to be on the show every single week. And I get it, life gets busy, but you can listen in as well as watch. We'd love to have you. If you're serious, you are about growing your contracting business. Ding, ding. All right. One, go.